Hello, my name is Dinkledork, and today I'm going to be showing you how to create a new spell and patch it into your game so that you can use it for your actual server. So I am using Cmangos. So the principles here will be primarily for Cmangos servers, though they will be applicable for other servers as well. You can probably do this for vmangos and Trinity, although the tables are going to be different, but the spell patching is pretty much the same regardless of which private server you're doing. So let's get started. So obviously the first thing you're going to need is HeidiSQL, and then after that is going to be Ladik's MPQ editor and DBC Util. Those are the three main ones. If you're lucky enough to be playing, I think on Azeroth Core or Trinity, you can actually use a program called Spell Editor and it'll do all this for you. But if you're not using that program because it just doesn't work for your purposes or whatever, this is also a good option as well. The other thing too is if you are wanting to patch in items on a TBC server, for example, this is the same principles that you would use. So, all right, so today I am going to create a portable anvil that I want to be able to use wherever in the game that I so desire. So I'm going to go ahead and open up HeidiSQL, and then I'm going to go ahead and navigate to my world server database. It's going to be different for everyone, but for me it's going to be classic Mangos. So I'm opening that up. I'm going to go to spell template, and I'm going to see about which spell is essentially similar to what I want mine to do. So basically what I want mine to do is to summon an in-game object for a limited duration. And there's one that I can think of, and that one is probably Ritual of Summoning from Warlocks. Now you'll have to do some research online to see what different effects essentially affect what, but for the purposes of this spell, the only real thing that I need to change is this effect misc value 1, because this one, I believe, summons a portal object, as far as I can remember. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go ahead and copy the spell, and I'm going to create a new ID, and this ID is going to be whatever I want it to be. 38601 is probably a good ID to start with. And then once I've got my ID, I'm going to go ahead and remove the soul shard requirement because I don't want it to cost soul shards to cast this spell. So I'm going to go ahead and look for the reagents column and set it to 0. I think I might be on the right spell, hopefully. If you ever get stuck and don't know what you're really looking at, you can always find the spell editor program online as well. I'll try to leave links in the description for some of these things, but I use it basically as a research tool to figure out what different spells do, and I just wanted to make sure that I am editing the proper spell. I think the transdoor actually might work anyway, because this misc value is usually just an object, so I'm going to go ahead and keep the original plan in place. So let's go ahead and go back to the spell that we're working on, and I just want to make sure that it is RF50 that we're working with, and it is indeed. And so I found it weird that there's no reagent requirement for this one, but I think it's on a different spell. So let's just go ahead and try it first, and we'll go from there if it doesn't work. So yeah. So this is something I'm going to change to. So I want to look up to see what different anvil object IDs there are. So I'm going to go ahead and find an anvil here in Ironforge. Although this anvil over here in the center, I probably don't want to make summonable because it's a large object. But I'm sure I can find. Here's this one right here. So if I do go object here, it'll give me an ID, which is 171714. I'm gonna go ahead and name this Summon Anvil, just to make my life easier later on. It doesn't really matter what you name it here, because that name is not going to appear in the actual game. When you actually go to patch it, that's what will appear. And let me just make sure that we still don't have a reagent. Okay, good. All right, so that spell is done. The next thing that I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and open up DBC Util. And I'm going to open up my database file for my private server. There's a DBC file for everyone, and you can copy this file if you don't want to ruin your original file. But the DBC file that we're looking for is the spell file. It's called spell DBC. And we're going to go ahead and basically do the same thing that we did over here in HeidiSQL. And let's see, so 23598 is a spell that we are copying. Nice thing about this is if you screw something up, it doesn't save until you say it saves, so just keep that in mind. Let's see, maybe it's 23598, yes. All right, so we found our Ritual of Summoning spell. So the next thing that we're going to do is right-click and copy line 2, and we're going to basically copy the same line that we have in our spell template, which is 38601. Make sure that these match up, otherwise you won't see it in game. And then we're going to go over here and change the MISC value. There's a little bit of intuitiveness that you have to go with here because not every DBC file is going to have labels for each columns. I know TBC and Wrath, I believe, do, but vanilla does not, so you have to do a lot of cross-referencing to make sure that you're actually working on the right line there. So the line that we are concerned with is 107. And I'm just going to copy that from HeidiSQL. We're going to put it in. Or place it. And I'm just going to call it Summon Anvil. So this is the line. 121 is the line for, at least for vanilla, for your spell name. 139 is the description that's given. So we can say summon an anvil to your location. And if you want, you can always add a cooldown as well, but I'm not worried about that right now. I just want to make sure that the spell actually works. And honestly, I'm probably going to add this to an item, so I'm not really worried about the cooldown because I can always add the cooldown to the item itself. So go ahead and save that file. Then we're going to go ahead and open Ladik's MPQ editor. We're going to open MPQs at the top left. We're going to browse to our World of Warcraft file data. And then we're going to go ahead and open our patch 2 MPQ after we've closed out of World of Warcraft, of course, otherwise you get that error. So let's try that again. So open MPQs. Go to desktop. I like to just delete the WDB file here, but that's something you'll need to do. It's also the cache file for other expansions. So we open patch 2 because that's the one that we're concerned about, and then we're going to go ahead and click on this DB files client. And then as you can see, the spell DBC is right there. So we're going to go ahead and add files. We're going to find the file that we modified, which is DBC, and it's called spell DBC, and then just say yes to replacing it, and that has taken care of the client side. So what are we going to do next? Well, we're going to go ahead and shut down our server, start it up again, and then we will test out the spell. All right, so we're back in our game, and I am going to go ahead and use the GM command to actually learn the spell so that I can cast it normally. So learn 38601. All right, so it looks like we were successful in patching it in. That much is good. Let's see if we can actually cast the spell. Now, if you're using a, let's see, let me make sure. Summon Anvil is right there. Great. All right, and we are successful. We have an anvil. So that's basically how you patch it in. I'm not really sure how long it lasts. So here's what I'm going to do for the rest of the video. I'm basically going to go into the more intricate side of things. But if that's all you wanted to know is how to patch spells into your DBC file, then you should be pretty much good to go. All right, so one of the things I want to check for is the duration of the spell, because I don't want my anvil to sit there forever. Otherwise, it's going to clutter things, and I don't want that, right? So let's look at spell template one more time. And we're going to go ahead and look at duration index. So 38601. I'm going to get rid of the channel interrupt flags because I'm going to make this an instant cast spell that I just don't really want to be a channel spell. And I believe that the extra attributes, one of these two, is in charge of whether or not it's a channeled spell. But if it's instant cast in the DBC file, I believe it will also be instant cast regardless of whether or not it's channeled. So let's see. So we have duration index, which is what we're looking for. Duration index. So duration index is 6. So if I go to my little wiki guide online that talks about different things as far as spell templates go, I'm going to go ahead and run a search for duration index. And we're going to go down. All right, I'm going to look and see what the duration we want to be. I'm probably going to just make it, let's just make it 6 minutes, right? So duration index is 41, and that's the number that we want to go ahead and copy in there. I'm going to go ahead and copy that in the DBC too, just to be safe. So yeah, if I didn't say so earlier, casting time index, obviously this takes care of the casting length of a spell, and 1 is obviously just instant cast. So, all right, so I'm going to exit out of that. I'm going to go ahead and change it in the DBC file again. I'm probably going to do some trial and error here. 38601. And this is the casting, wait a minute. So that's the casting time index. So yeah, I think these are actually in charge of the channeled spell. Yeah, I'm going to see what the channel target. I think it's under extra attributes. Let's see. So extra attribute channeled, yeah. So I'll probably get rid of the extra attributes anyway. Let's just go ahead and do that. I'm going to do that for both the DBC and the HeidiSQL. So let's see. I think 15406 was the R interrupt flags. I don't think that one matters as much in the DBC. But we're going to go ahead and get rid of that anyway. And then for HeidiSQL, we're going to go to spell template and change everything as well. Just being extra careful to make sure that we match everything between the two. And yeah. All right, 38601. And we're going to go ahead and get rid of the extra attributes. And I'm just going to make sure this range index doesn't really matter so much. And our channel interrupt flags. Yeah, so, okay, cool. So that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and restart my server yet again. After I patch this in again, and you guys can see me do this again. It might be useful for you. Why not? So exit out of this, open up Ladik's MPQ editor, open the data folder, delete WDB or cache, open up patch2 MPQ, go to DB files client, add, and then we're going to add the spell DBC. So great, now we're done with that, and we're going to go ahead and restart our server. All right, so we're back in the game, and I'm going to go ahead and find that spell one more time. One thing that you'll probably notice is I forgot to put the duration on the spell DBC. Honestly, it probably doesn't matter, but it might be good to do anyway. So let's see, summon Anvil. Where did you go? Right there. Cool, and it's an instant cast now. It still has the Warlock animation. If you want, you can also change the animation ID. This is basically one of them is in charge of the spell icon. The other one is in charge of the actual spell animation. So, okay, so yeah, so one of these is in charge of the spell icon, and one of them is in charge of the spell cast. So you can kind of figure out which one's which by looking at your spell template again, because I believe your spell template does indicate that it is which one it is. So let's see. Yeah, so there's a spell visual, spell icon, and then you can kind of reference from your spell template and check with the spell DBC. All right, cool. So that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I look forward to seeing you next time.